Yes, I can. How are
Okay,
you?
cool. I'm pretty good. This is my first IG live, so you gotta bear with me.
Hey, but this is the place where you should be doing it, though.
I know, right?
So welcome, welcome.
Thank you very
So
much. I appreciate it.
you're welcome. So everybody, Darnell and I are meeting for the first time.
Yes. Hey, how you doing? I'm Darnell.
I'm Shannon. See, social media will make you think you know people, right?
I know, right?
And we follow each other here, but we met basically on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. I saw some of your posts on
Yeah,
LinkedIn. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it's like I was new to LinkedIn. I still don't really get like what's so great about it. Not that it's, bad, but I'm just still trying
I
to
will
figure out how is it
say
different from any other social media. What do
my
you think?
first industry connect on social media was through LinkedIn. Like I had just got
Okay.
signed to Echo Lake like years
Mhm.
ago, and I found
Mhm.
a cat that was a writer on a USA show. And
Mhm.
I just sent them a message like, look, you don't know me. I don't know you. You said you're from
Mhm.
Jersey. I'm from Philly. You have experience. I have none. I have money for coffee. Let's,
Let's get
meet up like
it.
Voltron. Yeah. And it worked out.
Yes.
So
Good, good.
shout
I'm
out
glad.
to
Like,
LinkedIn.
I was getting on there just to see because everyone kept saying, "Do you have a LinkedIn? Do you have a LinkedIn?" I'm like, "No, I don't
Yeah.
feel like making another password for something. I don't feel like having to post to another place. I don't want to." But
Wait,
I
you mean
got
I'm
on
wrong
there
for
and
using pass 1 2 3 4 for all my passwords? That's not what I'm supposed to be doing?
no, you're not wrong. But obviously they think we are because then they want you to change it every other day. And it's like, look, I know you want hackers to stay out, but let's just be honest. The hackers are
Facts.
smarter than I am.
Facts.
So I'm going to forget how to get into my own stuff. Meanwhile, the hackers can still get in because they are smart. This is what they do.
You make what
So
they call a good point. Yeah.
so stop asking me to change my password. Like you setting me up for failure, actually.
Right. Right.
But anyway, so I know that there is a lot going on in the world, guys. So we might as well not ignore it, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at two black
Can't.
faces today. We've been exhausted by it all. There's a lot of positivity going on. There's a lot of negativity going on. And at the end of the day, we understand that the world would rather, well, let's say our country would rather see it burn than to do what they need to do. And I think that tells us a lot. So don't forget that there are some people who should be voting in their primaries today. Don't
Hmm.
let the curfew catch you. Don't let the
Pennsylvania, all my
Rona,
Chester people, Chester.
yeah, don't
Oh.
let the Rona be the reason you don't go. Put your mask on, stay 6 feet away from each other, and put your
Hmm.
vote in. Okay.
Facts.
Um, and then also the same for there are other primaries that are coming up this June. So just stay on top of it, y'all. Stay woke about it because if they can, they'll try to make you stay at home. And we know that our voices need to be heard. If you didn't know before now that your voice needed to be heard, now you know.
And talk to each other. It's okay to not be okay. And it's
Yeah.
okay to talk about it. So I know, especially in the Black community, we don't talk a lot about mental
Mhm.
health. I know we'll get
Mhm.
into that a little bit today, but it's okay to not be
Yeah.
okay. But talk to each
Yeah.
other about it. We as artists and storytellers, this is our time to try to get
Yeah.
those messages out there, but also take us away from it just a little bit. So,
Yeah. Because and it doesn't have to be profound. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like just share. Just share. It is okay to not be okay. And it's also great to learn that other people are not okay so that you
yes.
don't feel lonely and think that
Hmm.
you're on your own with whatever it is that you're feeling because it's just not true. Even people who are posting pictures of smiling faces are doing that because they want to try to bring joy, not because they're actually okay. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's totally okay for you to not be okay and for you to talk to each other about not being okay. So we just had to start off, with talking about the obvious because there's no reason to ignore it. Ignoring it doesn't get us anywhere, as we know,
Exactly.
right?
And thank you to
So for those
everybody out
who,
there that's making your voices heard peacefully all over the country, all over the world. There were people in
yeah,
the UK and in Germany
hmm
doing it. So if y'all
hmm
don't think that what we're doing is having positive impact far beyond our shores, check it out.
yeah,
There are people in the UK streets getting arrested for us. So keep it
yeah.
going.
And even if I've got to be the one to say it, there are some people who didn't realize there was a problem until right now. So welcome to the conversation.
Yes. Welcome to Red
Welcome.
Table Talk. Yeah.
Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to realizing that this is what we've been talking about this whole time. I'm glad you finally woken up. Hopefully you will go and inform yourself and figure out how you can do your part. I've had some people ask me, some non-Black people ask how they can do their part. And, my response is, it's not my job to tell you how to do that. However, the biggest thing you can do is start in your home.
Yeah.
Start with your friends, start with your parents, because your parents grew up at a different time, right? And all of these things are taught. We don't come out of
Exactly.
our mother's vajayjay with these feelings. So that means they're being passed down. So don't tolerate it even amongst your small groups. Even if you think, oh, they're just joking, or, oh, they don't mean it. Yes, they do. The joke perpetuates it, right? So if you can be that person who is just intolerant of willful ignorance every day of your life, then you could be making this small of a difference in the lives of the people around you, and then they will start thinking about things that are different. Don't be afraid to talk to your kids about what's going on, because your kids can grow up to be these people who are out here doing these negative things, because you're thinking, oh, my kid doesn't think that. Oh, I've never taught them that. And then next thing you know, they're out here on somebody's neck. So have the conversations.
Yeah, you're right. This moment isn't technically about us. It's about the future. We may not
really
enjoy the benefits of all of the sacrifices that we're making now,
yeah,
but it's for the kids after us, and that's
yeah,
what we have to think about. So
definitely.
thanks.
So thank you so much for being here.
Of course, of course.
So I'm not going to introduce you, because that's a part of what we do here. Before we
Oh,
start,
I thought you were going to do all that hard stuff for me.
No, So before we start, I have to give this disclaimer that I give every single week. This is not about pitching. We don't want to hear your ideas. Okay. This moment is about process. This moment is about journey. And because we have someone here who has been a fellow before, and we know fellowship applications are open and everybody's contacting me about, looking at their stuff, we're going to get the answers of, okay, so how do I deal with that? All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So this is not about, trying to figure out how you can get on the show with him or what you can pitch to him for him to make. That's not what this is about. If you put your ideas down there, I'm going to ignore them. Okay. All right. So Darnell, tell us your backstory. Where are you from? What were you doing before becoming a writer? Because most of us had to have some other kind of career or side gig, or, whatever we were using to pay, use our coins, to make our coins. So what were you doing then? What made you decide you wanted to come into this industry, unless that's something you always knew? And then how did you make it to Los Angeles, and what has that process been? So just basically backstory. Give us you can start from the day you were born if you feel like it. I don't know if we have that kind of time.
Okay, so it was a nice moonlit night, March 8th, 1980. No, I'm joking. So I'm originally from Chester, Pennsylvania. All the Chester people in here stand up, definitely. Not to be confused with Philly. Love Philly, but I'm from Chester, a little bit south of Philly. I wasn't the guy that grew up thinking that I wanted to be a storyteller the whole time. I actually wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to be a doctor this whole time. And the only reason, my family watches TV all the time, watch movies all the time. I distinctly remember the first moment that I watched Boys in the Hood with my dad. Like, it's ingrained in me. So we definitely were cats that watched TV and consumed TV and talked about it, afterwards. But it wasn't something that I wanted to do. If I saw a 2-hour movie, I was like, maybe they filmed it for like 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours. I didn't know, the process. How I got into all of this was I started writing poetry while I was in high school, and then I published a book of poetry. And as my aunt was out there trying to do her, black aunt thing, sell that book for me, one of her her friend's brother was a professor at this university, the University of Arts. And she said, oh, you should go meet him. So I went and met this dude, and he was like, are you interested in theater? And I'm like, no, not at all. And so why are you here? I was like, I have no idea why I'm here. So we were about to leave, and he asked me, hey, are you in college right now? I was like, no, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. I was going to Delaware State University at the time, but Katrina happened, and there was just a bunch of things going on with, historically black colleges back then. And he was like, look, do you like movies? I was like, yeah. He said, you should apply to come to the school. Let's say the application was $50. I maybe had $60 in my pocket. So I had just enough to take the R2 back home, filled out the application, got into UArts, got like a $30,000 grant to go to the school. And
Come on, Grant.
ended up graduating and went to the school and discovered that screenwriting and TV writing was something that I really wanted to do. So college really taught me how to write. You know, like I really
So did
needed to
you
know.
finish at Delaware at all, or did you stop at Delaware and then you went to UArts?
Yeah, I stopped at Delaware State University. I was going to Delaware State University for psychology and pre-law. Like I legit wanted to
Hmm.
be a lawyer, and
Yeah.
it just, you know, it just didn't work out. It wasn't the thing that I think I was meant to do. So I stopped
So
at Delaware State.
how old were you when you
Um,
made that switch?
I took a year off. So let's say I graduated at like 17 and a half. I took like a year off. That's when I published the poetry book. And then I ended up going to Delaware State. So I want to say maybe in around the 19 to 20 range I
Hmm.
started. So I was a
Hmm.
little bit older when I went to college, the real college
Yeah.
that I wanted to be at. So which gave me a little bit of experience there. To answer your other question, what was I doing during that time while I was in school, which will dovetail back into a later story. I became a mental health professional while I was in school,
Oh, wow.
which again, I did not have any experience in, but I had a best friend in college, and his brother has autism. And I was just always over there. So we would always play together. We would always eat food together, make burgers, clean Mount Dishmore because there was always a shit ton of dishes. We always did the family, you know what I mean? So we were already over there. And then one day he would just say, yo, you should just work here. You already here all the time anyway. So I started working, and
Yes.
I didn't really have a huge experience in mental health. I didn't know what
Yeah.
mental health was other than seeing what we all get exposed to. It's
Yeah.
whether it's on TV or movies or, you know, somebody that we see, you know, on a periphery that we don't really know
Hmm.
about. So I learned about
That
mental health
everybody
doing
just
that
calls
job.
crazy old blah blah blah, and we just kind of push them to the side and not
Or you
realize that
go
they
into
have an
church
actual
and you
problem.
pray for them. You're trying to pray it
Yeah.
out of them or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? That's what we do, unfortunately. But
Hmm.
so yeah, so I had that experience. I was in college being a mental health professional, graduated with a screenwriting degree and a minor in narrative video, which was important for me because I'm black, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this screenwriting degree when I get out and I need to play, you know, pay the bills?
Yeah.
Narrative video gave me an opportunity to learn how to be an editor. So like, if the
Okay.
screenwriting thing isn't popping off when I get out of school, I could do the whole editing thing, which I ended up doing. I started going to a job that outside of doing the mental health stuff, I started working for a company that made tutorials, kind of like
Okay.
lynda.com, you know, things
Hmm.
like that. Then I got back into doing mental health, and I met a young lady who became like my best friend. Her name is Elizabeth Sutton, Liz for short. And she's just this, you know, incredible, crazy, just dope ass woman. You know what I mean? She's incredible. She's just like a walking contradiction. You know what I mean? But in the best of ways. She's like
Yeah.
that ride or die person that's going to protect your kid if you know that kid has mental health. But she's also this like crazy berserk lady that has like you know sky blue hair and parties all the time. But she's an incredible woman. And I'll always say, yo, somebody should write a show about you. Like you are just too big of a personality to you just to exist in the real world. And
Yeah.
so I always kept that in the back of my mind. Fast forwarding, what got me out to LA, I wrote a script out once I graduated. I wrote this script called The Good Book, which was essentially Breaking Bad in a black church. And
Hmm.
instead of him selling crystal meth, he sold lies. And instead of him becoming Heisenberg, he became the biggest teleminister in the world. And it was a story of a good man doing bad things. And that
Hmm.
was the thing that kind of got me attention. That's what got me to Echo Lake. And I asked Echo Lake, hey, can I do this whole TV writing thing while still living in Philly? And they're like, nah, you can't do that,
Nah.
bro. Yeah. Because for the cats out there that want to know, you could get a meeting, which has happened before. I had a meeting and things changed within like a few hours. You can't be on the East Coast and then think, you know what I mean? It's just not going to work. So
Yeah.
I packed up my Kia Forte and headed west. You know, drove out here. It was the most I ever driven ever before, and couch surfed
Hmm.
and did a bunch of stuff. That script in 2018 got me to the BET and Color Creative script to screen contest.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I got to meet Denise Davis, and a lot of it. Shout out to Denise Davis. That's Color Creative. That's Issa Rae Productions. You know, that's
Hmm.
Insecure.
Hmm.
That's all that. And I was one of 3 finalists for that contest that got me to the American Black Film Festival in 2018. So I got to go to that festival,
Hmm.
meet a bunch of decision makers, executives at BET, made lasting connections with the other fellows, and met Issa and Denise and and Mo from the director of the show on ISN, and a bunch of people. And it just gave
Yeah.
me a window into the industry. And then that happened, and I was like, all right, this is great. I got some attention. I already got dropped by Echo Lake, but I had this thing, and it made me feel good. And then nothing. Like nothing happened after that. You still got to keep grinding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after that, the very next
So
year.
let me pause you real quick because
Yep.
I want people to understand what you mean by you got picked up by Echo Lake and you got dropped by Echo Lake. So explain to people what Echo Lake is, just in case they don't know.
Yeah, my bad.
How you got picked up by them in the first place, what that means, and then how you got dropped and what that means.
Yeah. And no shade to that. It's just, we're just telling stories here. I wasn't the writer that I needed to be. So how I got picked up at Echo Lake, I won a screenwriting contest on Facebook from a guy that ran it. And then he pounded the pavement and got my script out there to various management companies. Echo Lake Entertainment is a management and production company. So they manage writers, directors, and actors like Elle Fanning and her sister. They made the movie Nebraska, which was nominated for like the best picture at one time. The lady the woman that wrote what's that Steven Spielberg movie about the Pentagon Papers? The Post.
Oh.
Lady that wrote The Post.
Post.
She's right there. So I got signed to Echo Lake. I had managers there and everything like that. But just to be quite frank, I wasn't a good writer then. Like I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know, everybody says that BS thing. I didn't know my brand,
Yeah.
But to be honest, I didn't know the type of writing that I wanted to do. So when I say I got dropped, it's not a bad thing. It needed to happen because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't get dropped. So that's what all that means. I got picked up because of the good book. That's the script that got me there. And I got dropped because facts. I wasn't a good enough writer. I wasn't
So does
doing
this mean
what I
you
need
weren't
to do.
producing, you weren't writing at all, or what you were writing just felt like it wasn't a part of the brand, or what does that mean?
I think all of the above, really. Like, I don't think I was producing enough content. I wasn't doing what I need to do to show that I'm worth time and money. As weird as that sounds, but you got to be real about it sometimes. I wasn't creating content that was true to me because I didn't know who I really wanted to be. And if I'm not doing that, then that's not good content, and that's not content that they can take out there and get sold. So it's very easy to blame it on other people, but you got to sometimes look in the mirror and be like, I wasn't the
because that's the only way you're going to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
then how did you get to the BET Color Creative event? What was that process?
So I found a posting on Facebook. I think it was when I first moved out here, I joined the organization of Black Screenwriters, which is a dope screenwriting group. I didn't just join them because I wanted to be with OBS, shout out OBS. I just wanted to be around other Black folk. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I needed at the time. And I think through their page, because this was years ago, I think they had a posting that ABFF had this thing. And I watched Insecure, and I was like, okay, I'm going to enter this. Like, what could hurt? The worst that can happen is they say no. And I entered it.
Leaves you right where you are. So no.
Exactly.
No
couch surfing, trying to make ends meet. What I will say is during that time, my pay the bills job was I was a legal videographer. Short version of that was I would travel the world with attorneys shooting depositions. I was a guy that set up all the video equipment and would shoot depositions of mass pharmaceutical stuff. Anything that you've seen on the news on CNN that dealt with, settlements that changed the GDP of this country, I was a guy that shot the deposition. So Amsterdam, London, Finland, all that stuff. So I was doing that while writing. I made it to the semifinals of the BET Color Creative thing. Had to go down and pitch myself and my story in front of Rose Catherine Pinckney, Black woman at BET, again, is crucial to the rest of my journey. I had to sit down with another BET executive, Daniel Spitt, and Denise Davis. And that's if you've never been at that level, it's crazy.
So that was to get into the competition, or that was after you already had placed?
That was me. That was a semifinals round. And I had to go meet them to pitch the rest of the story to make it as they picked 3 finalists.
Wow.
So
did they fly you somewhere? Was it
I went to ABFF. Yeah, I went to ABFF for free. You know, hey, it is what it is. Yeah, you gotta make, did what I did, went there for free. And but again, it was more about making those connections. What I will
Yeah.
say, the best thing about that contest and about Denise and Rose Catherine and everybody, it's about the people that are already at a level turning around and helping other people. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a bunch of people, no, just being real, a bunch of Black women that
Yeah.
like turned around and like helped me get where I am. If it wasn't for Denise and Rose Catherine and everybody else, Kelly Edwards at HBO, which we'll talk about later, I wouldn't be where I
Hmm.
am. So
Yeah.
that happened. I'm at ABFF. It's me and the other finalists. And it was all about picking the script that's ultimately going to become like a pilot that, BET may or may not make into the
Hmm.
show. I was the only drama. It was the good book, the one about the church. And I didn't win, but like the other person, the other finalist, April, won, and they produced her pilot. Hopefully it'll be
That's great.
coming out soon. It's super dope. And but we stayed friends. We talk all the time. I still blow up their phones with crazy long ass text messages, which for everybody listening, that's the other thing too. I know I'm going to jump around because that's my thing. Make friends with
Yeah.
people. Don't just make friends and connections with people because it's some type of transactional relationship. I don't text Courtney and B and April because I want something out of them. I text them because I just want to annoy the hell out of them because that's what I do with my crazy ass text messages. You know what I mean? Because we're friends.
Yeah.
So do that. Definitely make
Yeah.
connections with people. So that happened. That was 2018.
Hmm.
Didn't win. Had this emotional high of being at ABFF and meeting Jeff Friday and Easter and all these people. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely about to pop off now, and it didn't. You know what I mean? And it didn't. And here I am. Yeah, it was nuts, and I had to go back to work. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
here I am doing the legal videography thing, and it's paying the bills and it's great, but it's not ultimately what I want to do.
Yeah.
2019 comes and ABFF, American Black Film Festival, has another writing contest, and the HBO fellowship is also up and running this year. And I had applied previous, like the year before, the cycle before, and didn't get in, just because I again wasn't the writer. It was also during, I think, the Echo Lake era. I just wasn't the cat that I needed to
Hmm.
be. So I entered the ABFF thing again, this time with a new script, which was Liz. And Liz is the script that I wrote, which was about mental health in the Black community. And it was based off of my friend, the
Yeah.
coworker that I told you I met about. And I wrote that script because the guy who got me to Echo Lake, who ran that contest, ended up becoming my manager because he was like,
Yeah.
look, I believe in you. I've never met you face to face. All of our conversations have been online, but I believe in you. You have a great talent, and I want to hit the pavement for you. So for years,
Yeah.
he had been like helping me out, like trying to get me out there. And he told me, he's like, look, just don't think about structure, don't think about genre, don't think about what they want you to do. Write what you want to write. So I rewrote Liz. Liz, the real person, Elizabeth Sutton, is a white woman from Pottstown, PA, with blonde hair. I changed her to a Black woman who was bisexual and suffered from schizophrenia because I
Hmm.
know from the experience that I had working as a mental health professional, we don't talk about mental health in the Black. We don't talk about mental health in this country in general, full stop,
In
period.
general. Yeah. Hmm.
But we definitely don't
Especially
talk
our
about it.
community.
And yeah, we don't talk about it. And even further, a lot of times we demonize it. And
Yeah. Oh,
for
yes. Oh,
me,
yes.
yeah,
Definitely.
so for me, writing this script was an opportunity to have us talk about a difficult subject, which is mental health, but to do it in a dramedy. So the script isn't the good book. It isn't this really tense drama. It's a dramedy. Some parts of it are very funny and like will make you laugh, and other parts of it are heartbreaking. Because that was my
Hmm.
job. Monday through
Yeah.
Friday, I had a job that sometimes it was fun and sometimes it was really hard. Wrote that script, submitted it to the ABFF thing, submitted it to HBO. Um, I got the call that I made it to the semifinals, and I had to go pitch like 3 ideas to HBO, go up to Santa Monica.
The HBO.
So
Okay.
to HBO for the HBO Access
Hmm.
Writing Fellowship for 2019.
Hmm.
So I'm there. My dad's military, so he's like, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, don't bother
Yeah.
coming. So I'm there
Don't
like
bother.
I'm there 4 hours early. I'm walking around that like little park in front of
Yeah.
HBO. Yeah, I mean,
In
trying
front
to
of
get my
HBO.
pitches. Yeah, I'm trying to get my pitches right. This is when Game of Thrones is going off, so I'm coming in there with these like dope ass. At least I'm thinking dope ass ideas. Like they're gonna love this. Da 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 da. And I'm just memorizing it. I got my note cards and everything, right? as I'm walking around, I get an email from Jennifer Williams, not to be confused with Jennifer Williams who runs OBS, a different Jennifer Williams. Jennifer Williams who runs diversity over at TNT, to tell me that I had just won the TNT drama writing ABFF contest and I was going to go back to ABFF an hour before. Now I'm about to go in and pitch to HBO. So like,
So
while
what did that do to you?
it threw me off. You know what I mean? Like it threw me off. It was real. I was like, I was happy, but I was like, I don't know how to put all this information back in my head. Go in for the pitch and I'm sweating, I'm nervous. And one of the executives at HBO who was in the pitch with me, Robert Patla, crazy dude, he knew I was from Philly, and I think Philly had just lost to the Milwaukee Bucks at the time. And he said something to the effect of, yo, I guess y'all not going to be trusting the process anymore, which was like a Sixers statement, like trust the process. And we started joking as if we were little brothers. It was something about him being this guy at HBO, like this, top dude and everything like that. Right. And he just brought it down for me. It's like, oh, this is just a real cat. Like I can joke with these people. And I sat down with my note cards in front of Kelly and all these people, and I started to get my pitch ready. And she was just like, just talk to me. Pitch, just talk to me. And I exhaled, and I was able to pitch. There were still shitty pitches, but I wasn't as nervous as I was. And they really demystified the whole experience for me.
That's great.
And I got into the HBO fellowship through that. So I started on that process.
I know Kelly as well. It's been a decade since I saw her, but she was at NBC Universal while I was there.
Yeah, she's dope. She's dope. Definitely wouldn't be here without her. She's crucial because while I was in the fellowship, Rose Catherine and Kelly, they know each other, and they helped me get this opportunity to be a WGA writer's trainee for American Soul Season 2. And what a WGA writer's trainee is essentially an opportunity for you to get into a writer's room, but like as a support staff type of thing. So you're right between like PA and writer's assistant. So I'm not required to pitch any ideas. I'm not really required to do anything. It's really about absorbing and learning. And I had taken all the information that I read online where people are like, if you're in the room, be seen, not heard, be quiet, So I sat back first, and then one of the writers actually told me, like, hey, come on, come to the table. So they brought me to the table, and I got to absorb. And it was a really, 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 really dope experience. They allowed me to pitch. They allowed me to listen. I was able to absorb. It was a really small room, but it was a family-like atmosphere, and that showrunner, she's incredible. Always will be in debt to her. So I left my job as a legal videographer to do that job, like within 24 hours notice. And that was the greatest experience of my life. But again, like I said, life is like that, right? So I had this great experience, and I was like, okay, I was in the writer's room now. I got the HBO thing, I got this BET thing. I went back to ABFF. Back in Miami, everything's going to be great. I know it's going to be dope. I'm going to be in a room soon. And then nothing.
Boom.
Again, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not something that I wasn't doing. It's just the industry. You know what I mean? It just didn't work. I didn't have a job. I left being a videographer, but Bill's still calling. Sally Mae's still hitting your pocket.
They don't care. She like, excuse me, sir. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. I waited as long as I could. I had savings and stuff like that, but at a certain point, you got to swallow your pride and you got to get back out there. So I saw a posting for, for Whole Foods, like has a national like hiring day or whatever like that, right? And I worked at Wendy's before. So I went down there. I went to the Whole Foods at 3rd and Fairfax with hundreds, maybe even thousands of people down there. Wow. And I needed a job. Now, what's important about that was I had just had general meetings that whole week with like Overbrook and like Smokehouse and all that jazz. Was fine. I wasn't nervous for that. Being in a room for this interview at Whole Foods because homeboy didn't have any money, that was the most nervous I ever felt.
Like, because I need this. I need
this. Yeah, I need this. Got that job, worked there up until January. I had an opportunity to be a legal videographer, independent contractor again for a week. The guy said, "Hey, can you commit to working 6 months?" I said, "I can't commit to next week. I don't know when I may get the call to be a writer." I left Whole Foods on a Sunday, went and shot a deposition in downtown LA on Monday, got a call on Tuesday or Wednesday from my reps that I had a showrunners meeting for an HBO show for Thursday, I believe, or Wednesday. It might have been for Wednesday. Had the showrunners meeting, met with the showrunner. She's amazing. And then got the email on Friday that she wanted me to be in the room for this show.
Look at God.
And then started working, right? Look at Lort. Look at him. And that's what happened.
Okay.
You know? And I had the opportunity to work as a story editor on a HBO limited series. And why I can't say what it is because of how we were saying before, it hasn't been announced yet. So for those out there that want to know too, you can't jump out the window and be like, I'm working on this. You got to wait until they announce it. You know, it's not.
And there will be penalties and consequences if you do. Like it's not a game.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my journey. I worked on that show. Now I am working with Tim Story on developing Liz into a show that hopefully will, be on TV. Hopefully once everything returns to normal. So yeah, that's me.
Come on, Story. And I do these for several reasons. One, I just want to point out that I appreciate that I want to say every writer that I've had on here had a great experience as a lower level person in the writer's room. And that's not something that happens in general.
Right.
In general, you are supposed to be seen, not heard. Somebody already told you that, put you up on game. So when you got in, you were like, cool. You know what I mean? But you just happen to have a group of people that understood that you're here to learn, and you can't learn by being seen, not heard. So they brought you, they brought you in. And so the same thing is true for a couple of the other writers I had. They always had showrunners that were willing to give them that space to actually learn. And we all know we learn through practice. So I think it's great to hear you guys say that. I also want everybody to hear the up and down. Like the reason that 3-act structure exists is because our life is in 3-act structure. You know what I'm saying? We're in our setup for as long as we're in our setup, and we're in our second act doing this.
Gotta surf. Gotta learn how to surf. Gotta stay above the waves. Yeah.
When it's up, it's going down, and when it's down, it's going up. And so that's just what life is like as well. I recently, and I'm gonna give his race and his age and his occupation on purpose because I want people to just get the real out of this. I recently met with this white man, had to be 50s, maybe late 50s, works in the documentary space, nominated in the documentary space, which means he knows people in this industry. He has won every screenplay competition known to man. Guess what has not happened for him? He has not made one of his films. So it's just not as simple as, oh, I did the contest, I won. So now my life is going, or, oh, I have these connections over here and it's just going to happen for me. And this is for a Caucasian man who has some industry connections. And if he's winning these competitions, that means he can write. It's not like around the way competition. It's, the big ones. And he's winning them over and over and over with 5 different screenplays. It's not like the one screenplay is sweeping the place. He's like, no, I'm showing you that I can do this over and over and over and over again. And he gets the meetings, but it never quite, makes it to the next place. And so it's just, you don't know what this industry is going to do. It's very subjective, and we aren't able to do it on our own unless you're willing to, for real, go make that money and figure out the production yourself and do all those things. But a lot of us who are writers, we don't want to do all that. We're not in this to be doing all that part. We want to do this part. We want to put the story on the page, and then we want to allow everybody else to do their part. Well, anyway, so one of the reasons that I wanted you here is because I know we're in fellowship season. And so I wanted you to talk to us about that. I've had a few people send in their stuff to me so far. And I guess my first question is, how do you know when you're ready to submit to a competition? Like, what do you think they're looking for?
I think they're looking for, and I'm only going to attest to myself. I think
Yeah.
they're looking for, and I put this in a post that I put on Twitter. They're looking for the most 100% concentrated version of you. They want what they can't find in somebody else. And what I mean by that is when I wrote the good book before LA, that was me still trying to write what I thought everybody else wanted. I didn't know who like Darnell the writer was. Darnell the man, Darnell the brother is very different than Darnell the writer. And I needed to find a way to figure out who this man wanted to be. So I think when it comes to your question about what are they looking for? They're looking for what they haven't seen before, and what they haven't seen before is your point of view on life. But you know, of course, you have to know that an inciting incident is unexpected and hits your emotional core. Of course, you need to know, you know, how to write to 5, 3, 4 act structure. You need to know those things.
So I'm going to interrupt you. So if you don't know that, should you be applying?
Facts? No.
Like some people are natural at it, but if you're not natural at it and you literally don't know, so that means you have a full screenplay, it's 60 pages long because it's a 1-hour drama, and there literally is no inciting incident. Should you be applying?
If there's no inciting incident, no.
Yeah.
Because again, you got to look at it this way. These people are getting thousands of scripts. If you're not, and the inciting incident is the hook, right? So if you're not giving me the hook in the first 3, 5 pages or a feature, first 10, then you're telling me that you don't really know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're also telling me that you're not paying attention to real life, right? Because when you're in a conversation with somebody, are you going to continuously engage with them if they haven't given you a piece of information that has attracted you?
Your thesis statement.
Right.
Why am I here?
Right. So it's a double-edged question, right? Like everybody asks, what are they looking for? They're looking for what they haven't seen before. They're looking for your unique point of view on life. They're looking for sellable, of course, yes, they're looking for things that are going to sell, but they're just, you know, they can put your unique voice on something that they know already sells. But
exactly.
you have to be somebody that can communicate to them. This person is emotionally available to go places that other writers aren't. And that's what they want, really. So.
Okay. So can you tell us the difference between a bio, a personal statement or a cover letter, and artistic statement?
Interesting.
I have my answer. I want to see what you say.
What I can do, all right, I'll talk about my experience with the HBO thing, because the HBO thing was different. It was that all the materials were through not Without a Box, but what's the other one?
Cover Fly?
From Film Freeway, right? Yeah. So they asked for questions that I think Film Freeway made up. So HBO, I think, asked for 2 samples. Well, 1 sample, and then if you make it to the semifinalists, another sample, and you had to answer these 3 questions. The one question that I distinctly remember answering that they asked, which I think is crucial to your question, it was, who's your favorite literary character and why? And I could have just written, Walter White, Breaking Bad, boom, that's my cat. You know what I mean? And my manager even told me, he was like, no, don't do that. Like, everybody's going to say that. You know what I mean? I thought he was wrong. I was like, you're stupid. I'm going to write it anyway. But what he was right about was you have to show them in every piece of your application process who you are. At the time, I was going through some life situations. You know, my life was a little bit crumbling at the time. If you go on Twitter, you'll see it. I was in an empty apartment. Everything was getting packed up, and my ex at the time legit was moving out as I was typing. I had nothing to lose, so I took his advice. I didn't just write that Walter White was my favorite literary character. I chose to tell how I think Walter White reflects my own life, so that way when they read it, they'll get a sense of who I am while I'm also answering that question.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak to what the difference between like a bio, like a personal statement, all those things. What I will say is all 3 of those things, they need to get a piece of who you are. Don't just write the academic 1 + 1 = 2 version. As you guys can probably see in the 30 or 40 minutes that I've been on here, I jump around a lot. I am the, over caffeinated, even though I don't drink coffee, schizophrenic black dude. Like, I jump around and I talk. When you read anything that I write, you know that I wrote it, because that's the way that I write. I write the way that I talk or speak. So I would just say in all of those essays and all those bios, don't give them something that's going to make them glaze over.
Yeah.
Give them something that's going to make them perk up. They haven't read that before. Always know that they're reading thousands of those Jones.
Thousands, guys. They're already asleep before they read yours.
Yeah.
They want to be woken up because it's their job. They got to read them. Yeah. But it's like, give them something that they, so that they understand you. I used to say the same thing when I worked with students who were applying to college and they would have to do their personal statement, right? And I would say to them, you know, because I don't know why they put on TV all the time that you have interviews to get into college. I don't know where that myth came from. It was like maybe a scholarship, maybe. But to get into college, y'all are not interviewing thousands of people, you know, to choose thousands of people. But anyway, I was saying to them, like, you're not going to be in the room. All they have is this, whatever this is on the paper.
That's it.
So they're asking you for this thing on the paper, not because they just want more stuff to read. Who wants more stuff to read? Nobody wants more stuff to read. They're asking for these things on the paper because that's your opportunity to tell them about you.
Yes.
So imagine you are on the paper walking into the room. And so here are my definitions. A bio is like your resume in paragraph form. Your artistic statement is about you as a writer, what you like to write, why you should be writing the story that you're writing. Your cover letter and your personal statement, they will usually give you like a little bit more on the side about what it should be, but it's still just another opportunity to talk about you. You know what I mean? To just be yourself. I would say also look at the individual questions that they sometimes give you underneath the big question, because that's really the stuff that they want to know. So sometimes they'll say, you know, the cover letter can be what you want it to be, but think about these kind of questions. Okay, answer those questions. You know what I mean? Answer those questions, and then again, be yourself and be vulnerable and be specific. You know, I don't learn anything about you if you speak in generalities. So if you say, you know, I really want to be a writer because I thought X movie was good. What does the word good mean?
Right. Exactly.
Has no context whatsoever. You know what I mean? What, how, when, why? Answer those questions so that we can really understand who you are, what you think, you know, and kind of be able to, if you walk into a room, start speaking, know that that was your application. Yeah.
And answer the question that they aren't asking. Like, I think what was great about the questions that, you know, the Film Freeway thing provided, which, and I think all of the application things, it gives you an opportunity to, by the time you get into the room, they should have an idea who you are based on the three examples that you've given them. You know, you have to write each one as if that's your inciting incident, as if, like you're saying, that's your only opportunity. If they only read this one thing, I want them to know, you need me in this fellowship because I am the voice that you don't have. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. No matter if it's a bio, no matter if it's your artist statement, imagine that's the only one you have. And put your full introverted, artistic, whatever swag on that. So they look at it like, I know who Shannan is. Just from this bio, I have an idea of the type of person she would be if I sat across from her at a table, or most importantly, in a writer's room for a number of weeks. I know who she is.
And to go back to that word that, you know, that you hate, there should be a cohesive brand here, a cohesive feeling here. Your bio should sound like the same person wrote the artistic statement, should sound like the same person wrote your synopsis, should sound like the same person who wrote the screenplay. Even if, you know, your screenplay is a drama, it doesn't mean that all of your materials are down and trying to make people cry, but you have a voice. And that should sound like the same voice. And even on top of that, what you tell me your film is in the log line and synopsis, your sample better fit that. Don't tell me that your character is this thing, and then I start reading it and I'm like, that's not what your character is at all. Don't tell me that your story is about this thing, and then I start reading it and it's not that at all. You have to understand your story. And just to throw it out there before I ask you one of these other questions that people are putting in the box, the synopsis is asking you beginning, middle, and end about your story. It's not asking you why you think your story is good. It's not asking you why you think your protagonist is fly. It's not asking you about the tone. It's not asking you about the genre. It's saying to you, what am I going to read?
Yeah.
Beginning, middle, and end. That's your 3-act structure. Boom, boom, boom. Tell me the story in prose. Short, concise, but tell me the story in prose. That's not about your opinion of your story. It's asking you for the actual story. So just keep all that in mind, that everything, like, you're pitching yourself. So just imagine you're watching a commercial and somebody tells you that the product that they're selling does X. You're like, cool. Then you buy that product and it does Y.
False advertisement.
False advertisement. You want your money back. So the same thing is true about this packet. You're telling me that this is what your story is. And then I read it and I'm like, these two things don't add up.
And to be clear, guys, that's not a genre thing. Like, I wrote The Good Book, which is a drama, a very tense drama, and I wrote Liz. The connective tissue of those two things, it's still my voice. It's still a writer putting, his hopes, dreams, and insecurities on the page in different characters. One protagonist is a man, a minister, and the other protagonist is a Black woman. Neither one of those people are me, but they both share the qualities and characteristics of me that I'm putting out on the page.
Right. So I'm gonna answer this question real quick, and you can give your opinion on it as well. But somebody said, do you give away the plot twists in the synopsis? And it can go either way, because if the plot twist is what makes this thing make sense, you know what I mean? Like, don't leave out the stuff I need to understand for the context of the read.
Right.
And also understanding that they're not the audience. They're going to read it. So they're going to get to this information. So you don't necessarily have to hide it from them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the information they need so that they can decide to work with you further. It's not like, it being in the theater and somebody putting the twist in the trailer. It's not the same thing. Here is like, that's the information that I need to follow the story and follow the context. So give it to me. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the big thing, then wouldn't you want me to know that so that I can be excited about it, and that be the thing that I walk into the next room talking about? So I would suggest that, put it in there because you need it if you need it for the context of the read. What do you think?
I would say that too, but I would also say look at something like, the synopsis for The Sixth Sense. And to that, I would say, if your entire synopsis is built around just that one thing, then there's something wrong with your synopsis, because, plots get us to stay. I mean, plots get us in the room. Characters get us to stay. I don't know what Lost was about, but I saw the sound effects, I saw the mystery, so I turned to it. Why did I stay for all those seasons? Because those were dope-ass characters. And I stay for that. So if your synopsis is only built upon one plot moment, then there's something wrong, because your story should be about more than one plot thing. You know what I mean? So I would say that.
And it should be about the character anyway.
Always.
Right. Okay, so one of the questions was, when you apply to these kind of fellowships and things, what do they set up legally for you? Like, do you need to do something on your side legally before you give them your screenplay, or do they have you sign something before you send it in? Or
for the most part, there are releases. Now, I do not want to speak for any company, any contest, any fellowship. What I will say is, just off top, everybody needs to be registering every script that you have with the Library of Congress. Just, facts, just do that. I mean,
just do it.
Say what you will about the WGA thing. I do Library of Congress. I just want clink down on it.
Yeah, so, and FYI, if you register it with the WGA, that's not what's going to hold up in court. Yeah. Doing it through the Library of Congress and getting your U.S. copyright, or whatever country you live in, copyright, right, is what you're going to be able to take to the court if somebody actually steals your stuff.
Right. So every contest, that I've entered, they all have releases and stuff like that. But I guess the heart of the person's question is, if I enter this contest and I submit my script, do they now own my script? No. I submitted Liz to get into HBO. They don't own it, and now I'm developing it with Tim Story. So, and again, you got to think about it this way too. Contrary to what other people may think, these people don't want to steal from you or hurt from you. Just call a spade a spade. They have people that they pay millions of dollars for that they trust that ish from. They ain't fitting to take something from you. And then now they're opening up their legal, responsibility. Now they're not into that. You know what I mean? So it's like, yes, you should always protect yourself, but understand that for the most part, my experience in industry has been a lot of people of color that like want to help. And you can't walk around with this like, I can't trust this person, I can't trust that person, because just look, no story, every story's been told. Your story isn't unique. Your point of view is unique. And if your point of view is unique, you can do it again and again and again and again. So don't worry about one story because it's already been told. Take that specific idea that you have, but that unique way of thinking, and put it in a Western, put it in a sci-fi, put it in a dramedy. So, you know.
I'm so glad you say that, because when I say it, people look at me crazy, but I'm like, your story's not unique. Like, and as a person who reads stories every day, all day, I'm telling you, your story is not unique. What's unique about it is the characters that you chose to tell it. You know what I mean? Your point of view, like you said, your voice on the page. Everybody's telling Boy Meets World. Somebody say Boy Meets Girl. Somebody saves the world. You know, somebody war, blah, blah. We're all telling the same stories because we're all living the same experiences. You see how many Black Lives Matters movies there have been in the past X amount of years.
Carry the one. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're living during the same time. We all read the same history books. We're all getting the same information, which means we're all thinking about telling the same stories. So it's really just about you being unique and bringing that to the table.
Don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean jump out the window and don't protect yourself. That just means, you know, do both. You know, they're not mutually exclusive. Protect yourself and understand, you know, they're not trying to steal your idea. So.
And if they do, it's going to be real hard for you to prove it. So just remember that.
Exactly.
They're going to have to steal word for word, character for character, page for page for you to do it. And so you end up spending all your money in legal fees anyway. But, you know, if you want to get your stuff seen, then you have to get over that fear. Because if you're making babies to keep them in the closet, then
don't write in a vacuum. Yeah, don't write in a vacuum.
Would you pitch a storyline for a show in an essay asking to pitch yourselves for a show?
Would I pitch a show in an essay where I'm supposed to be pitching myself?
Now, I don't think that's the question. Would you pitch a storyline for a show in an essay asking us to pitch ourselves for a show? So you might have to be specific about that. It seems like, are you saying they're asking to know about you, but you want to talk about your story? Because
I mean, I feel like you just answered your question. Like if they're, I mean, that's the other thing with these applications. Answer the question. Like if they're asking you, like, what's 1 + 1, don't give them, you know, geometry. Like that, it gives them a little bit more about yourself. I think the goal is always to communicate to them who you are. But I don't think, just like how Shannon was saying, this isn't the time to pitch. I don't think, you know, a essay where they're asking you to tell you about themselves is the time to pitch your great idea for the next ABC drama. Because again, that's them you're telling them, oh, this person doesn't listen.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's exactly what you're saying. But you're saying, hey, but sign up to work with me for like years. Why would I want to work with you? You can't listen.
I think the goal is always to communicate. Instead of trying to pitch a story, I think you should always be trying to pitch yourself. In that can be the story of you and how you got to the person that you are. But I don't think, I think if the question is about a specific question, like an essay about yourself, then just do that. Just be creative in that answer.
And in general, I say this all the time as much as I can. You're always just pitching you, because it's always about the next gig.
Facts.
People work with people they want to work with. As you can see, trash gets made all the time. It's not always about the story. So you're always trying to go in with your best foot about, like me, because if they like you, they're going to figure out how to work with you in some kind of way. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So definitely, you know, if they're asking to get to know you, don't deflect. Right. Stay where they're asking you to stay. Okay, so we only have 5 minutes left, and we know this thing's going to cut us off. So what would you like to leave for the people? What's your final bit of advice?
Final bit of advice. I said this to a few students at UArts that a friend of mine and I had a chance to talk to. I would say a couple things. I'll try to be quick. Lean into the you. You know, do that Sheryl Sandberg thing and lean in. You know, like if you are the weird nerd, you know, if you are like me who loves, you know, beef Wellington, but also loves Lemon Pepper Wet. If you have all of Jay-Z's albums, but also listen to Hans Zimmer, you know what I mean? Like if you are the weird person, don't try to lean back from that. Like lean into it because that's what they want. They want somebody that is not easily defined, not easily explained on a piece of paper. Because those are the stories that they really want. Because they've never seen that. So if you're the person that was ostracized in high school, this is your time. It's the time to tell these stories for real. So I would say be you, be 100% you, and don't shy away from it because that's what's going to get you on. The other thing I would say, and this is kind of a life, lemon pepper dry. No, lemon pepper wet, whoever that person is. Who wants lemon pepper dry? It shouldn't even be a thing.
I always want wet. That's
lemon pepper wet. I blame Atlanta for that because I saw that first episode and then I've been obsessed with lemon pepper wet after that. So Atlanta, thank you for that. This one is kind of like a life, but a career thing. There's one thing that Corona should have taught us is that we can't do this alone. I don't wear a mask for me. I wear a mask for you. We're not out there. Everybody isn't out there protesting because they are going to receive the benefits of that protest. They're doing it for other people. In that, don't think that you can do this, being a writer, and be in this career on your own. You can't. You need people. This whole entire industry is about connections. And don't make meaningless connections with people. Really become friends with those people. Get out there and live. Because that's how you tell those stories. Everything can't be about writing all the time. You got to live. Because then where are you pulling these stories from if you're not living? Everything is about a transactional relationship. So get out there and live. I know this is a difficult time right now with everything that we're going through. People of color and people not of color that are just against injustice. And I know it's hard to go through all of that and still think that you need to be super productive and you got to write like 60 scripts right now. You don't. Take care of yourself, care for yourself, and get out there and live because this will pass in terms of this moment. And then it's going to be on you to be the people that make the content that gets us out of this moment, So I would say do that, and just keep being dope. Honestly, that's really what it's about. Like, don't stop being dope. Be weird. Be funny. Be dramatic. Be overly emotional. Be all those things. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't be whatever it is that they're telling you can't be. Because guess what? I was working at Whole Foods in January.
Yes.
I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania. I don't know how to play basketball. I don't have a hot 16. You know what I mean? I don't have any of that. But, it still worked out. You know what I'm saying? Right. You got to believe. You just got to keep believing.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We had somebody who asked this question twice, so I'm going to quickly answer your question. She says, do I need to get a master's in screenwriting? The answer is unless you want one. Right. I have an MFA in film because I wanted a terminal degree so that I could be doing what I do right now, which is teaching screenwriting on the collegiate level. So you only need that if you like to learn in a classroom setting, go to film school. It's not going to teach you about the business, but it will teach you the creative stuff. If you don't like to learn in a classroom setting, you do not need a screenwriting degree, undergrad, master's, or any at all in order to do this. However, you should study your craft and make sure that that's what you're putting at the forefront because you do need to be educated. So we have 23 seconds. Those of you who signed up for the Booked AF, you should have gotten an email so that you can have all of the information. And we're going to see y'all next week booking your stuff. My online course is online right now. I'm only taking 3 spots and 2 of them are gone. So there's only 1 spot left in my online course that's going to be in January. So check my website.